Head at me right now. He's like, why do you lose your place? Jordan gives me these pieces of masking tape so I'll find it, but it never works because I always lose it. So this is the situation we were trying to get out of when we asked him to save us. It's a small scene of a big impact. The driver wasn't driving for his life, he was driving for ours. Connie and I ducked down in the back and held hands. We cried like schoolgirls. We drove and drove, the silent driver just looking at us through the rearview mirror from time to time without saying a word. The window on my side was down and the cold breeze stung my cheeks. Eventually the cab pulled into a 7-Eleven parking lot and the driver parked and turned off the engine. He sat still for a minute, looking straight ahead and saying nothing. Connie and I just looked at our feet. He turned around to face us. "What do you want in your coffee?" he asked. Afraid we'd start crying again, Connie and I could barely get the words out. "Sugar," I said, "and cream." My voice was shaking. "Black," Connie said. "You smoke?" We nodded, and he left the cab. You know, we didn't even think of taking off. Instead, we both just sat there and cried. We cried with relief, and because we did not want to be tortured or turned out by pimps. And we cried for our mothers, and we just kept crying until he came back to the car. He handed us each a cup of coffee, and he threw a package of menthol cigarettes over the seat, and he turned on the engine. "My shift's up, girls, let's go home." He slowly pulled the cab out of the parking lot. We drove through the dark tree-lined streets. I didn't know what time it was. It was somewhere between night and morning for sure, but it was time to pay the piper. I started to get anxious. We should have taken off while he was in there instead of just sitting there. I leaned into Connie. "I can blow him, but you have to fuck him. You're on the pill." She hissed back, "As if you are doing all of it." I glared at her. I had nothing to say. What could I say? She was right. I had to do it. It was my fault that we were there in the first place. It was the fee for him having saved our lives. And in my 16-year-old brain, it was the least I could do. I took a deep breath and looked into the rearview mirror. The cabbie was looking straight ahead. He didn't catch my stare. "All right then," I whispered. Connie lit another cigarette and blew the smoke out the window. We watched the trees and street lamps and parked cars as we passed by, gathering myself before I put my game face on. The driver stopped the car on a street across from a darkened house with awnings over the two front windows. The front door was a handsome blue, and there was a car in the driveway. The neighborhood was quiet and old, but the houses were close together, and they all had cared-for lawns and flower beds. "This is my place. I live in the basement suite," he said. He got out of the car, and we did the same, sheepishly, not looking at each other and not looking at him. We dragged our feet beneath us. He unlocked the door and we all went inside. "Might as well take your shoes off," he said. We sat down on the couch and watched him as he went to the kitchen and filled the kettle with water. The living room had very little furniture, no pictures at all on the walls. There was a coffee table with an ashtray and a rotary dial telephone on it. A bookshelf behind the couch and two chairs across from it. "You can smoke in here," he said. I handed one to Connie and lit one for myself. It was the package that he had bought for us. The driver came over and sat in a chair across from us. "I'm making more coffee," he said, smiling at us. We just sat there staring at him, scarcely breathing. "I've decided what I want you girls to do for me. I will be the one," I said to him, blinking. "I will be the one. It's the least I can do, sir." I was hoping to sound respectful. He laughed so hard. "My name is Norman. You can call me Norman." He picked up the telephone from the table and placed it in front of me. "All I want is for you to call your mother." He sat back in his chair. "That's all." I was in shock. I wasn't sure I believed him. "Right now?" I asked. I mean, it was the middle of the night. Surely my mother would be asleep. Norman motioned to the telephone. "Trust me, kid. Just call your mom." I picked up the receiver and dialed my home number back in friendly Manitoba. 3 long rings. "Hello?" My mother answered the phone. She sounded like she'd been startled awake, but it was either me or the cops. Who else could it be in the middle of the night? "Mom?" I started. My voice cracked. All I heard through the receiver was the sound of breathing, like a long exhale. It was her soft sobbing. I was silenced, hearing what a broken heart sounded like. You know, I broke my mother's heart into a million little pieces that autumn, and I can't say she ever found all of them. Thanks. And you know, Norman took us the next day in the morning, and he took us out for meatball sandwiches, and he drove us back to the Greyhound station, and all of the staff at the Greyhound took up a collection and paid for our tickets back to Winnipeg. And we made it home before school started on Monday the following week, and we returned to our studies and finished high school and went on to university. We were very, very lucky. This song is for my mother.
Get me the fuck out of here. I ran away from you. I packed my tears and all my fears. I had nothing better to do. Mommy, I know you know the truth. I'm sorry that you're heartbroken, and all I am is missing you. When I ran, I dropped a chili candy heart, hoping you would search for me. I just want to come home tonight. This is the story of my life. Shouldn't even have been one day. I am calling from a payphone 2,300 miles away. Bad things I cannot even say. If not for the kindness of strangers, I would not be alive today. Mommy, I know you know the truth. I'm sorry that you're heartbroken. for me.